Welcome, everybody. I am so pleased to present our next guest, Sharon Smith. And Sharon is a longtime Qigong practitioner. She's been practicing Qigong for 44 years, the Taoist internal arts, and has been teaching for 39 years in New York City. In 2017, Sharon created and directed the Immortal Sisters Conference, a historic gathering of women committed to returning to the Tao. Sharon has hosted the Shift Network's Qigong Global Summit since 2020, and she's also a photographer and award-winning filmmaker. Sharon, welcome. So good to have you.
Thanks, Lee. It's really fun to be on the other side of the interview situation.
Absolutely. I mean, I was like all ready to be interviewed by you, and apparently I'm interviewing you today. So it's exciting to switch things up. And isn't that how yin and yang works?
That's true. Love it.
Yin turns the yang, yang turns the yin. And, you and I have been practicing Qigong for many, many years. We've been good friends through the Healing Tao and Montauk Chia, where I got my start. I know you were training other practices before that, things like Tai Chi. When did you actually get your start, and who did you study with?
I first started studying Tai Chi in 1978 with a man called Don On. And Don was actually the person who introduced me to Montauk Chia in 1980 or 1981. But I learned several Yang style forms from Don. He had been a student of Ching Men Ching. And other Qigong I learned from him. I think it was 108 animal forms from Don.
Isn't that interesting? I recently learned that the 5 animal frolic style of Qigong had some roots and history to the Yang style Tai Chi forms. I don't know what you think about that, the animal frolics and Tai Chi and the history. I mean, I know there's so many connections there, but.
Yeah, there are so many connections, and there's so many different 5 animal forms also.
Yes.
So, so many people in China, every family developing their own lineage. And, it's just a vast source of knowledge that we're both lucky to have dipped into.
Yeah, the more you know in this world, the more you don't know. Sometimes it's like that. Sharon, tell us a little bit about the difference between Tai Chi and Qigong. I know this is a very popular question to figure out and delineate. What's the difference between Qigong and Tai Chi, in your opinion?
Well, the main difference is that Tai Chi has this self-defense component. Although it can be practiced as a Qigong set. And for me, the important thing in both practices is that we do them with the right intention, which is for better health and for happiness and to create a little more equanimity in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Tai Chi, being that it's a martial art, but most people are practicing it now as an internal energy cultivation, a practice of relaxation and inner peace. And, most people aren't facing martial adversity. We're facing emotional adversity, mental stress, and those are our challenges these days. So anything that can really help us combat the stress and the emotional disturbances can really, really help us. Practices like Tai Chi and Qigong are so instrumental in that. And I know you're an expert at talking about balance, strength, and equanimity. And both of these practices, Tai Chi and Qigong, can really help us to achieve that. So how do you talk to people about balance, strength, and equanimity?
Well, these are, I would say, the basic pillars of the structural aspects of both Tai Chi and Qigong. And the strength part of it is not what most people think of as strength. It's not muscle strength, although some people do get stronger physically, muscularly by doing these practices. That's not really the kind of strength that I like to talk about. The kind of strength I like to talk about is kind of core strength, connection to heaven and earth, the energetic frequencies that are bigger than who we are, and the feeling of alignment. All of that creates strength, and that leads to stability, and that helps us with our balance. And it's super important these days because as people get older, one of their biggest issues is balance. And I've taught senior citizens a lot over many years. And now I guess I am one. I hear people talk about, oh, people over 65. I go, is that me? Yes, it's me.
You don't look a day older than 40, Sharon. Something's working.
Well, thank you. But as people get older, one of the major issues that they experience is fear of falling. Mm-hmm. And the statistics aren't pretty. They say that over 30 million falls are reported annually by older people, and millions of adults end up going to the emergency room because they injure themselves, and 20% of those people have serious injuries. And what causes people to fall? Well, there are lots of reasons. Some of them include, combinations of medications, they're not wearing their glasses, they're tripping over a carpet, all of these kinds of things. But the real thing that I like to talk about in this particular area is that when you start to trust yourself to stand, to walk, to be stable, to have good balance, then you're not going to fall. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And unfortunately, most people wait until they're older to even deal with this. Mm-hmm. And you and I were fortunate that we started learning this stuff when we were young. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know how old you were. You were a kid when I met you. I don't know how old you were. I started when I was 27. Yeah. And I am so grateful that I started practicing when I was young, because when you're young, you have this long time to really develop something. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you start when you're old, time is not on your side. You've already gotten injured. You've already developed certain alignment issues or, whatever it might be. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it as you get older, but I want to encourage the young people to start practicing Tai Chi and Qigong, because it will really support you as you get older.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a great study that came out. It was in the Wall Street Journal, and they took different groups, physical therapists, Qigong and Tai Chi practitioners, and a control group. And the group that came out the best in preventing falls was the practitioners of Tai Chi and Qigong. It was a big deal. And, we understand why. I mean, it's constantly drilled into us with all our practices to develop the base of your body, develop strength in your legs, develop balance, develop your center. And these are life lessons. It's about physical balance, sure, just like you were talking about preventing falls, but there's so much more to it. And it's never too late to get started, people. Start your balance training, your grounding practice, your cultivation of inner strength today. There's nothing like starting today with the practice, because I've seen older people start their training and their balance improves. I'm sure you've seen things like this where people come in on a walker or a cane. In the back of my room, I have people just forgetting their canes as they walk out. And that's something that I love to see. I'm sure you do too, Sharon, but you're talking about strength and balance, and I know there's more to it than just your physical strength. Mm-hmm. Talk about emotional balance and emotional cultivation. What does that mean to be balanced emotionally? Because I think these two things are really tied together.
Definitely. And this is one of the things that I love about Qigong, is that it involves so many dimensions of being human. And the emotional dimension of being human is not going to disappear. We're human. Even the Dalai Lama gets angry sometimes, I'm sure. And we're going to get angry. We're going to get worried. There will be moments where we're living in fear. There will be other times when we're sad or impatient. All of the emotions that are associated with the internal organs have to do with the fact that we're human. What causes them to be difficult is when they become predominant, when the balance is off and the negative is stronger than the positive. So one of the practices that we all do, and many presenters at various summits that I've been involved with have talked about the 6 healing sounds, but they are so important to creating emotional balance. They're also, when you practice them, it doesn't mean you're never going to have these emotions, but you're going to have a way of letting those emotions flow through you so that there can be a transformative process and you can move back into the center, into balance. Mm-hmm. And moving into the center, moving into balance is what all these practices are all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's such a dynamic process, right? And it's not something that's static. You're not like, okay, now I'm balanced, I don't have to do my work. It's a constant readjusting and finding your center. And if that's familiar territory where you're feeling stable and grounded, you can navigate back to that, is what I find. It's like being able to have practices that you lean on when you're out of balance to bring you back to center. And that's what I find so valuable in things like you just mentioned, 6 healing sounds, just even the stability and grounding training, because when you're physically grounded, it leads to emotional stability. And when you're emotionally stable, it leads to physical and mental stability. These things are all working together and it's dynamic. And that's why it's so important to have a routine. That's why it's so important to have a practice that you can lean into, because life is always changing and the landscapes are always different and the feelings are always different. So having these practices are just like having treasures within yourself to bring you into the state that you want to be, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. And not only leaning into them when you're feeling imbalanced, but practicing on a daily basis creates a higher level, of your own ground zero, whatever that is, so that you start to feel more balance all the time. Mm-hmm. And then when you're pushed off balance for whatever reason, it's much easier to come back to the center because mm-hmm. you've been practicing how to get back to the center. And so, there's some kind of simple things that you can do mm-hmm. To start to have this be part of your life.
You just said something I think is so important. And what I find fascinating is that you can have a higher ground zero. And with your practice, that floor of where you found the bottom just keeps elevating and elevating. And pretty soon your lowest low is where your highest highs were. And that's what's so amazing about this practice, is that you just keep shifting that neutral point, because there's always positives and negatives in our life, in our day, but where your relationship is to those positive and negatives is often very different. And this practice really helps to scale up your energy, where your floor or your ground zero is at a really different place than if you didn't have this practice. And I think it comes back to really getting to know ourselves, like in the practice, like the healing sounds and the training that we went through. There's a lot of work on our internal organs, and each organ system, for example, has those positive and negatives. And when we get in touch with our 5 elements and our internal organs and our meridians, all of a sudden we have a whole new skill set to deal with life's demands. Talk to us a little bit about our internal organs, Sharon, because I think people don't have that relationship.
Yeah. People think strength and stability and balance is just skeletal, just the muscle skeletal system. But it's really much deeper than that, because all of our internal organs have a kind of a spirit. They have their own spirit. They have their own way of being. and they express in both positive and negative ways. And when I say negative, I'm not placing a value judgment on that. I'm talking, I guess, about polarity. It's more electrical. A positive expression is expressed outwardly, and a negative one is held inwardly. So, for instance, if you want to talk about the kidneys, for instance, and I do talk a lot about the kidneys to older people, because in Chinese medicine, one of the main theories of aging is about dehydration. As we get older, our water energy begins to evaporate, and various things happen to the physical body because of that. Our skin gets dry, our hair gets dry, our teeth get loose, our bones get brittle. It's not a pretty picture.
No,
I don't want that.
Energy pumped up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Nourish.
Right. So you want this juicy quality to your life and to your life force. And that's all about the kidneys. Well, one of the main negative emotions about that emerges from kidney qi is fear. And what happens when people get older and they start to feel afraid to go outside, to go for a walk, to engage life in a certain kind of way, that creates an internal imbalance. So all of the organs have their own agenda, their own emotional capacity, and we need to feel that internal balance. And that's a big thing for all of us, because especially as we get older, we start to notice that we have certain go-to emotions. Like some people go to their anger just like that. Some people get depressed just like that. Some people get sad. Some people worry, think too much. At a certain time in life, you have to make your own intervention. You have to become your own healer. You have to observe, oh, I'm just reacting in a certain kind of way. That is creating an imbalance in my life. How can I work with that?
Right. So much good stuff there, Sharon. I mean, like kidneys and water element and this deep energy. I mean, the water element is so important, right? And I think it's sometimes misplaced. Kidneys and water can be seen as the most yin. That's why it's related to your bones and your joints. And so many things happen as we get older to our joints. And it's like this pain, that pain. And as things flow and circulate, we feel a whole lot better in our bodies at whatever age. And so there's this idea that when we're doing Qigong, we're moving. And if we don't move, we tend to get stagnant energy. It's a move it or lose it kind of thing. So it's almost like people, when they get older, they become more sedentary. As you become more sedentary, things tighten up. As things tighten up, you get more stagnation. And so Qigong is this beautiful practice that you could do at any age, and it just oils your joints, lubricates your meridians, and creates this water of life circulation inside of you. And I think one of the beautiful things about your practice, Sharon, and I've got to see you do Tai Chi, and let me tell you guys, Sharon doing Tai Chi is a beautiful thing to watch because she is elegant, graceful, strong, and in the flow. And it takes that combination to be able to do that with such grace and effortless ease. And maybe, Sharon, you could talk to us a bit about this combination of structure and strength, but also flow and water-like quality. And I think that's kind of the edginess to this practice, is not to do it stiffly, but also to be strong and not to be so strong that you're not fluid. And I think that's a very interesting concept.
So one of the things that I've learned in my years of practice is that there is something that happens when you practice Qigong, and whether it's in a standing meditation form or simple changes of the body, one of the things that happens is you create an energetic stretch. Okay, this is not like I'm going to stretch my joints like you might do in yoga. And I love yoga. I studied yoga also. But the kind of stretch I'm talking about is an energetic stretch where you feel the chi opening the joints. And that's very internal feeling that you need to cultivate. Like, you need to go deep inside to feel this stuff. It's not something that you can just talk yourself into. You really need to reconnect yourself to your internal world. And the best way to do that is to have a strong connection to what we call the Dantian. The Dantian is, I like to call it the medicine field. It's right there at the navel center. And the Dantian is like your major GPS. It's your battery. It's everything. And when you start to have that kind of connection, and you can cultivate that connection through sitting meditation, standing meditation, moving meditation, when you start to have that connection to your center, a lot of things are possible, and it can awaken your inner sensing ability so that you begin to sense and feel more.
Well, that is so important too, to be able to sense and feel more, because I mean, we talked about it earlier. We become habituated in our emotional patterns, our thinking patterns, our body postures. And this practice helps to expand your ability to sense and feel more, which expands your ability to sense and feel life. And then we're more in harmony and actually in more control of where we want to guide and direct our precious life force energy. I mean, speaking of guiding and directing and strengthening and conditioning, I think you're going to take us through a practice, aren't you, Sharon?
I am. So I recorded a little practice the other day. It's a 20-minute little routine. It includes 5 minutes of warming up and a 15-minute guided standing meditation, really focused on strengthening your legs and your alignment and your physical balance. So enjoy.
Beautiful. Well, let's do that with Sharon right now, folks. Go ahead and get ready. Let's get practicing.
We're going to do a 20-minute routine that includes 5 minutes of warm-ups and a 15-minute standing meditation with variations. So you're going to shift your weight now to your right leg, and you're going to drop all your weight there into your right leg. Your knee is slightly bent. The place where your leg is connecting to your torso is also slightly bent. And we're just going to lift the other leg and touch the heel to the floor without putting any weight on it. Just lift and touch. Try not to crash down into your foot. And you can make it a little more difficult if you like by lifting your leg up higher. Good. And now change legs. Drop your weight into your left leg. Touch your right heel to the floor and lift and touch. Very simple. And drop your weight into that leg and lift your other leg up. And you're going to rotate it from the hip. And you're also going to rotate the foot from the ankle. Keep your knee bent. And then change directions. Your standing leg, the knee is bent. This area right here we call the quad. It's also bent. So you're standing as if you're sitting on the edge of a chair. And now let's change legs. Drop the weight into the left leg. Rotate the right leg. Hip. and ankle. And there's movement in the knee also. But the real strengthening is coming from the standing leg. And reverse. And then you're going to drop your weight into that leg. And this time we're going to extend the range of motion of the rotating leg, opening that hip as much as possible, keeping all of your weight of your body going through your standing leg, and reverse. And drop your weight into that leg. And let's do the other one. Trying to find as much range in the rotating leg as you can. And reverse. And drop your weight into that leg. And now we're going to do a few kicks. So you're standing now on your right leg. You're going to lift your left leg up and kick to the front, releasing tension in your kicking leg, strengthening your standing leg. And go to the 45-degree angle. If you need support, you can touch a wall, a piece of furniture, without leaning into it. Just know that it's there. Go to the 90-degree angle. And then behind you. And cross, go a little too close to the shade behind me. I'll correct that on the next one. And drop your weight into that leg. And lift your other leg up and kick to the front. To the 45. To the 90. These bells are giving me some idea when to go to the next section. And to the back. And cross. And now you're going to stand with your feet parallel, shoulder width distance. You're going to bend this area here. You're going to bend your knees. And we're going to inhale our arms up, Tai Chi style. And on an exhalation, rotate your hands and embrace a big, beautiful tree. You're standing well on both legs. You feel your big toe, your small toe, your inner heel, your outer heel. You feel also the point in the center of the sole of the foot, kidney point number 1, poetically called, as you probably know, the bubbling spring. And this is where the earth energy bubbles up into the physical body and begins to irrigate the body with the yin energy of the earth. So you can close your eyes. You can feel your feet. You can feel your connection to the earth as you absorb that yin force, as you bring it up into your physical body. Aware of your ankles perched on your heels. Pay attention to your knees. Your knees are slightly bent and they're pointing straight ahead like headlights of a car. They're not going to fall in like this. There's a slight rotation with the kneecap in this front direction. And when you do that, you want to also feel your inner heels on the floor. Take a minute and connect with your tailbone and feel your tailbone very heavy, as if a heavy weight was on the tip of it and the Earth's magnetic core is pulling your tailbone down. Find an energetic stretch through your spine. Relax all the muscles around your shoulders. And some of you might feel a lot of tension in the shoulders. So if you do and you're really miserable, you can drop your elbows down. And for many people, that releases the tension here in the shoulders. But if you feel okay, embracing the tree, you can come back to this round position. And there are many different ways to hold the hands. The two main ones are to completely relax the hands, or if you want to activate the tendon lines, you can gently spiral the hand from the wrist and spread the fingers. And energetically connect your hands through your arms and down into your feet. Make sure your tongue is touching your upper palate and the crown of your head is being gently pulled up towards some point out there in the universe that you can relate to. It could be the North Star, the Big Dipper, the sun, the moon, any celestial point out there. You want to feel that gentle pulling up. Your tongue is on your upper palate, wherever it's comfortable, and the crown of your head is energetically connected to the perineum. Relax your chest and let your mind rest in your dantian. Feel the strength and the stability of your legs. Nothing else to do. Connecting to heaven, connecting to earth, cultivating inner strength and stability to create more balance in our lives. And now, let's shift the weight. You're going to shift the weight into your left leg and lift your right leg up, standing on one leg. If you have difficulty with this, you can lightly touch your toe to the floor. If you want to make it more challenging, you can lift your knee up higher and sink down lower. But if you are new at this, you might want to start in an in-between place. Feel all of those points of alignment that we just discussed. The crown of your head lining up with the perineum. Your spine energetically elongating. The tip of your tailbone moving into the earth. The crown center lifting up towards someplace out there in the universe. Tongue on your upper palate. Mind in your dantian. And let's change legs. You're going to slowly drop your weight into your right leg and lift your left leg up. And same thing. You're going to discover that you might be stronger and more stable on one side of the body than you are on the other. So if you need to support yourself a little bit, let your toe just gently touch the floor, just grazing the floor without weight in it. And those of you who want to challenge yourselves more, you can lift that leg up even higher and sit down even lower. Connecting to your dantian, connecting to heaven, connecting to earth. Now back to two legs. Make sure your feet are parallel with a reasonable distance between your feet. Your legs should be under your shoulders. sitting down into your legs. Tongue on your upper palate. Feeling your body weight descending down through your bones, all of your bones and into the earth. And simultaneously feeling a kind of buoyancy that comes from a gentle lifting up of the crown center towards the cosmos. Mind in your dantian. Knees pointing straight ahead like headlights on a car. Don't let your knees fall in. Open your knees away from each other and imagine that those kneecaps are pointing directly in front of you. Nothing else to do. Feel your connection to the invisible forces of nature that nonetheless exist, that nourish us and support us. So your strength and stability is not just from your own power. It's the cultivation of your power in conjunction with the energy from heaven and earth. Taoism, we like to say, heaven, earth, and humanity is a team. All three of us working together. Remember, anytime if your shoulders are bothering you, you have stress in your upper back, you can move your elbows in and let your palms face up and continue to sit down in your legs. Stand here for a while, and then you can come back to embrace the tree. If your hands are tired, you can relax your fingers, but if you want to work on your tendon extension, you can spread your fingers and rotate your hands. And now we're going to do a few more one-legged stances. You're going to shift your weight to your left leg. Your left arm goes up. The hand is in line with the crown. And you're going to lift your other leg up and energetically stretch. If you want to challenge yourself more, you can go down more and lift your lifted leg up higher. The palm center of the down hand is absorbing support from the earth, and the palm center of the up hand that is in line with your crown center is connected to the yang force of the universe. Mind still in the dantian, tongue on the upper palate. And shift the weight, sinking down into the other leg. Upper hand comes down, lower hand comes up. You can sit down, back a little bit so you can see the hand. And you're gonna lift your left leg up. The upper hand should be lined up with your crown center. And there's an energetic stretch. You wanna feel that, feeling. Your standing leg is getting stronger and stronger. Your mind is getting sharper. Your connection to the forces of nature is getting deeper. Anytime you feel like you need support, you can just touch that toe to the floor. Or you can challenge yourself more and lift the leg up. And stepping, bring your upper hand down. We have a few more minutes. Inhale, exhale, embrace the tree again. Remember to keep your tongue on your upper palate, to feel the microcosmic orbit, the energy of yin and yang flowing in a circle through your body. Feeling your feet on the floor, absorbing the earth energy. Keep feeling your crown center being gently pulled up towards some celestial force. Mind resting in your dantian, in your, what I sometimes call your medicine field. Nothing else to do. Cultivating your strength and stability to create more balance in your world, and let that ripple out into all of your circles, your family, your friends, your colleagues, your neighbors, and the world. Just a few more seconds. Enjoy these moments in your day where you have no other responsibility but to cultivate your energy and your connection to the forces of nature, to heaven and earth. Cultivate your inner world. Bring your hands down in exhalation. Your hands go down, your body goes up. You can turn to your left side. Step in. Gather the chi on the left side. Bring it down to your navel area as you swallow your saliva. Turn to the right. Inhale. Exhale. Swallow your saliva. Rub your belly, both directions. If you have stress in your chest, you can brush it out. And thank you.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that practice with Sharon. I know I did. You know, standing practice is so powerful for our energy cultivation and our balance. You know, early days in standing practice, that was always the hardest for me, Sharon. I would be like, oh my God, this is so tedious. I just want to move my body in more ways than standing. But after a while, it became one of my favorite practices because it cultivated so much energy. So I really appreciate the way in which you taught that and the way in which you teach and come back to these basics and these foundational techniques.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Sharon. Do you have a website where people could go to and find out more information about you? Because we would love to train with you.
Thank you. Yes, my website is TaoSharon, TaoSharon.com. And I have some classes online. If you're ever in New York City, I am doing some live classes outdoors when the weather is good. And, you know, with everything changing, I'm hoping to start teaching more live classes. But I do have some online things, so sign up for my newsletter, and I look forward to seeing you.
You hear that, guys? Go to TaoSharon.com and sign up for her newsletter. And if you're in New York, like me, if I'm ever in New York, I'm going to come train with Sharon, get my roots deep into the earth. Let's all do it. It was so nice to see you, Sharon. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for being on the other side of this interview process. I learned a lot just by being here with you. Thanks so much.
Blessings. Thank you.
Blessings.